Naya.
Don't talk about my mom that way.
Is she a pink witch?
She is.
Aw.
She came out of the broom closet a long time ago as a witch.
That's okay, I like her then. She's mad.
She is magic. Magic Mom. I'm going to tell her I said that. She'll be like, don't talk about me online. I don't know those people. I'm like, okay, Mom, calm down.
That's true.
How am I sounding on Twitch? Just want to make sure everybody can
Sounds
hear
good.
everything. It sounds good? Okay. All right. And finally, hello, Twitch. Everybody say hi, Twitch.
Hi, Twitch.
There we go. Good job, everybody.
Hi, me.
We also had like a little bit of harmonization there. Harmonizing. Okay, there's a lot of people here. Let's go ahead and get started. As soon as I pull our agenda, we can do this. But while I'm doing that, why don't we introduce ourselves, starting from JRC.
RC, I'm the avatar lead.
Hi there, I'm Loki. I work mostly on the import pipeline stuff, but I'm also doing the pre-morph skeleton for the avatar team.
Ooh. Kara?
Hey everyone, I'm Kara. I'm a product manager. My pronouns are she, her. I'm not sure if that's the right way of doing it.
Galileo, I'm the community manager. I'm a he, him.
I'm Nix. I'm a project manager, she, her.
Lacey, marketing coordinator, she, her.
I'm Stanley. I'm the director of product, he, him.
I'm Harley, Sansar support team lead, they, them.
Great. Okay, so just as a reminder, that's who we all are. We'll probably have more Lindens pop in, and if they do, and if they're important, well, everybody Linden is important, but we'll have them introduce themselves. And by important, I mean if they want to speak. Okay. Product meetup rules. So just as a reminder, we want to keep all questions in chat unless we are specifically discussing a topic that is happening as it's happening. So if somebody brings up high heels and somebody wants to ask another follow-up question about high heels, that's fine. But if we move past high heels, write your next question about high heels in chat or whatever. That's the main rule. And if we have somebody talking over people, we'll ask you nicely to stop. And then if you don't listen to us, I'll bring out the band hammer. Okay. Here we go. Today we're going to talk about avatars. Whoa, so exciting. Look at all the new avatars around here. Oh, one clap. One clap. That must be from the Minnesota delegation. Very polite in Minnesota.
How'd you know I was born in Minnesota?
I can tell by your accent. But first we're going to talk about upcoming features we're working on, and then we'll have an open forum here with you all. And then after that, we'll be talking about features in development, including a pre-morphed skeleton. We're going to have a nice video to show you, which means I'm going to have to stop floating in front of the screen like a psychopath. And then we have a bunch of stuff to talk about today. So they're not spoilers. I'm not saying what we're showing. Okay.
Hey, Galileo, some mentions in Twitch chat that your volume is a little low there.
God, I knew it. That's why I asked everybody to check. Okay. All right. Okay, Twitch chat, is this better? I know you're not going to hear this for another 10 seconds, so I'm going to keep going. We've got some the roadmap we're going to discuss, because I know everybody's like, hey, tell us the roadmap so we can prepare stuff better. So we've listened to that, and so we're going to deliver on that so you guys can start preparing for stuff. I do want to throw out the caveat there for showing a roadmap with you. Some of the stuff out in the distant roadmap might not actually happen when they occur, so this is the other side of knowing about what's coming up in the roadmap. If something has to get delayed for some reason and you think it's coming, that's just a possibility. So just keep that in mind in the future. And we've got a bunch of stuff to talk about, and we're also talking about nudity today. All right, I know that's why most of you are here. Very exciting. Okay, Ransom, calm down. Let's do this.
The Twitch volume is a little bit better, but it's not at a level of Sansar volume, but that's it's a little better.
Volume. Okay, maybe I'm just
I think
talking
that's
very
probably to
low.
be expected.
Okay, I'm gonna turn it up a little bit. I'm not going to start screaming into this. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Twitch folk, use your volume boosters, your amplifiers, or you just use your lip reading skills to see what's going on here. Because I don't know how much higher I can turn it. Oh, I talk too fast. Well, you know what? You're listening too slow. That's how I feel about that. Okay. Let's go ahead and get started. Who is first? Kara.
Hey there, can everyone hear my mic? All right, cool. Yeah, so today, like Elliot mentioned, we want to talk about, what we're working on in the next couple of months. I know a lot, everybody's been interested, what's up next for avatars. So I think we'll start with pre-morph skeletons. It's something that we've been announcing in the last couple of product meetups. Also, we've talked about it a little bit in the Discord channel. So today, to really kind of give you like a sense of what it really means, we're actually going to show a video, like a short video, just a short video to kind of showcase what it means. So basically, you'll see. Let me just play it. All right, Gala, you may want to move out. All right, 1 second.
I'm going to sit in one of these stupid chairs.
Point the Twitch camera at the screen.
I'm trying. Ooh, look at that little branding.
I know, right?
That's nostalgia.
All right, cool. Yeah, so basically, this gives all of you custom avatar creators more power to create custom avatars. You no longer have to be conformed to the skeletal frame of the Sansaar skeleton, and you have freedom to change that up, basically change the position, but not necessarily the rotation of the bones. Maybe Loki can kind of fill us in a little bit about that.
Sure. I mean, so we're basically restricting the kind of motion that you do only to translations and not rotation, just because it plays better with the animation retargeting that we do. So that's just so that the animation and everything look fine in the final product, I guess.
Yeah, cool. Thanks, Loki. I think the other thing, as a part of this work, I know some of you have mentioned, extending the AABB. So we're also looking into that. So we will be extending that a little bit. It's not going to be a huge extension, but at least it gives you a little bit more freedom in terms of creating your avatars and as well as clothing.
So we're thinking of having a minimum AABB and a max AABB, so just so that like we're not creating ants out here. So something that gives a good range of creativity to you guys.
That's right. Any questions on pre-morph skeletons before we move on? Or shall we leave the questions for later?
Let's leave the questions for the end. Otherwise, we'll have 2 rounds of question collecting.
Okay,
Is this
sounds
out
good.
in the next release?
We're trying to shoot for the next release.
Yes?
So very soon. Yeah, it's coming out very soon.
When is the next release? The end of the month, right?
I think it will be early November is what we're shooting for right now.
Gotcha. Okay, so what do we have next? Is that all we have, or do you have more there, Kara?
Right. That's all we have for that topic. We can move on. So next one is we want to talk about cameras. We've heard some feedback from all of you that it's been hard really to adjust clothing, especially 1.0 clothing, given that you can't really zoom in certain parts of the legs, like the body example, the legs, right, or the hands. The team is working on better camera functionality to enable free cam basically in the editor, so you can kind of pan around and really fine tune your clothing at a much better like zoom frame. Up next, we're also working on, or we're about to work on allowing you to upload skins. So the idea is you should be able to upload skins for the default avatar. So this is something that we want to give to you as soon as possible. One caveat is you won't be able to sell those skins yet in the store, but we are planning to extend those capabilities soon after. And then the biggest thing that we are working on right now is body deformation. We know a lot of you did not like that the avatar came out without body deformation, and do not like the body so much. So we are working really hard to get that as soon as possible. Um, yeah. Is there anything there, Nix, that we would like to add?
Yeah, just a little more detail. It's going to work very similar interface-wise to the face deformation. So if you like those tools, expect a similar experience for bodies. Rigged mesh clothing should adjust with the skeleton, because most of the deformation is going to be by changing the size and scale of the skeleton. And then MD clothing, we have our usual transform tools for trying to get the clothing to fit with a deformed avatar. And we'll talk a little bit more about what the implications of that means.
That's right.
If you deform an avatar, then rigged clothing won't deform with it?
It will.
Oh,
It will.
Yeah.
Because the body deformation is operating on the skeleton itself. And so anything rigged to that skeleton will come along for the ride, essentially.
Is there nothing
So
special in rigging it to bring it in? Just,
nope.
oh, okay.
Right. Yeah. The challenge would be Marvel's designer clothing. So since they're not really specifically skinned to any point, they don't really come in with that information, so that if you deform the body, they don't really adjust. So like Nick said, we're kind of looking to like how we can deal with that better. So I guess on that note, talking about body deformation, one thing that we foresee is some kind of like market fragmentation. I think we already have that today, with after 1.0 and 2.0 clothing, and I think there are some clothing sometimes they're made for specific custom avatars. So one thing that we want, we are looking into is like improving the store so that we can deal with this market fragmentation in terms of clothing and accessories for specific avatars. So kind of having some kind of system to say that, hey, this clothing was made specifically for this kind of avatar, so at least the user knows like, okay, this one will really fit well. You can still wear it with another kind of avatar, but of course then it kind of gives the user who's buying it some knowledge that I may have to kind of tinker with it a little bit so that it fits better. And same thing with the inventory. We want to be able to kind of have some kind of either messaging or some kind of treatment so that which items in your inventory fits well with such specific avatars. The other thing that we've been thinking about, and this is something we'd like to discuss with you, the community. One thing that been thinking about, as we introduce, as we have body deformation, the different shapes and sizes of the after bodies will introduce, uh, just different sized bodies that contribute to the market fragmentation. So we were thinking about, right now we have face presets, right? As default face presets as a starter. In the future, we were thinking about having some kind of differently shaped avatars as a, starting point, like, maybe a thin avatar, a shapely avatar, one that, shaped like Avatar 1.0 as much as possible, or like a fat avatar, and maybe use those as kind of like a guides set forth to kind of like make sizes for those specific avatars so that most whether it's the default avatars or custom avatars, if they kind of fit those kind of body frames, and there's at least some kind of sizing that an avatar can adhere to. I guess we'd like to know like what does the community think about that. I'd like to make that again off open forum discussion.
Yeah, the hope is that we can figure out some general shapes and standard sizes that can represent a wide variety of avatar shapes. And then clothing makers can make clothes that are designed to work on one of those specific shapes. We'll have it so that you can search the marketplace for clothes and filter down to clothes that were designed for that shape, and similarly be able to filter in your inventory. Um, or not, if you don't mind using the transformation tools to adjust Marvelous Designer clothing. Um, that way, clothing makers don't have to make 20 different versions of the same piece of clothing, um, but also we have a wider variety of body shapes that people can be in the world. And obviously, you can still upload your own custom avatar or make shapes with a body deformation that don't align with one of those standard sizes. Just know that if you do that, then your customers will have less clothing options for dressing up those avatars.
Now, what if we could have more translation tools, currently, similar to what we have, but related to bone? So now we just have one outfit that you can scale up or down. But if we could scale each part, each bone that was in that Marvelous Designer outfit, then we could scale the chest up, we could scale the arms up, or uh, equivalent to what our avatar needs. Just something I'm throwing.
So yeah, no, that's a good question, and definitely one that we've talked about internally. And Marvelous Designer garments, to be clear, don't have any bones, and so while we are allowing bone deformation to allow you to adjust the shape of your avatar, that there isn't enough information in Marvelous Designer garments to actually know which part of the garment should be extended. We've talked with Marvelous Designer before about doing some non-uniform scaling, so scaling in one axis or another, or trying to figure out which part of the garment is the sleeve and scaling that to make your arms longer, that kind of thing. Um, they've let us know that unfortunately that's just not possible on their end. So that's why currently the options available are to scale the overall garment, reposition it relative to the avatar, and then do the rest through simulation.
It's done on large scaling, isn't it? At the moment, you just scale it up, right?
Yeah, you scale the entire thing, larger
Yeah.
or smaller, and it affects every aspect of it.
So you
you
couldn't-
can't just scale the
You can
arms
scale
of
the
this jacket
size. Yeah,
independently of the
Well,
rest
no,
of it,
not
for
not
example.
not what I'm saying is, could you stretch it instead of scaling it? Because I mean that would make more sense.
Like
if
heights
not.
too. Height separate.
Yeah,
from
yeah,
height.
to height to length of how wide the body was.
Yeah, we've asked about that kind of non-uniform scaling as well, of just like along one axis, but not all of them. And they also told us that that also wasn't possible, unfortunately.
Right. That's a shame because I thought they might be able to do that bit.
It'll make things easier. Next. I've noticed in Discord there's a lot of chat about people wanting Marvelous Designer stuff to have more than one face or material shader. Is that, I know at one time MD was not going to adjust to have different faces per fabric, but could that be happening now that everything's evolving?
We're starting to deviate a little bit from the original topic.
Right, yeah.
So I know it's like semi-related, so it's like maybe we could get away with it, but why don't we try to stay on track a little bit? But it's a good question. Why don't you put it in chat there, so we'll get back to it in like
I'll
5
do it
minutes.
to you later. I'm too tired to type right now.
Okay, all right. I feel that. Okay, let's go ahead and move on.
Yeah. So other things that we were working on, I think we've heard the feedback as well in the the after editor background, the lighting there. So that's something that we're currently iterating on as well. That was definitely something that I know it has a lot of shadows, but it was definitely a much better improvement than the previous one, because in the previous one, a lot of the whites were being washed out. If you notice, like the skins before, some of the lighter skin tones were really washed out, but now they look a little bit much more better. But we're improving that. We've heard your feedback about the shadows ruining some of your store images, or just like the look of your avatar. So we'll get that fixed soon. Other things we're also working on is really just, improving those face presets that we have by default. Kind of have like a better starting point as well as the skins, to make the skins better, basically. And that's currently what we have in the roadmap.
That's the entire roadmap.
Yeah, for the next few months.
Did we talk about upload skins, sell skins?
Yep. Yeah. So I just mentioned yeah, we already mentioned that earlier.
Okay, cool. Just,
Yeah.
I was looking at stuff. Okay. All right. So I think if we've covered all of the roadmap stuff, looks like we have. Did we talk about market fragmentation? Sorry, I've been dealing with a couple things.
Yep.
Okay.
I believe the next topic is
Testing.
contests.
Yeah.
What is it?
Contests.
Contest.
Testing the waters. Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead, Kara.
Yeah, so we were just thinking, just this is an idea. Would the community be interested in a contest, or you can make skins for the avatar, and then we would be featuring those skins that win as part of the inventory, for example, so that users can use it. So kind of like also like a promotional tool for you. You know, I think what we can do is like say, if they right click on it, then they will see who made the specific skin. Is that something the community will be open to, or like any kind of like avatar creation in general, like and putting your work basically into the default inventory.
Okay, sounds good. One of the things that we've heard in the past. Oh, say it again, Matthew.
The prize money.
Prize money. Yeah. So one of the things we've done in the past, I've only been here for one avatar contest that we had to cancel almost immediately because of the sort of advent of 2.0, Avatar 2.0. So one of the things we want to make sure that we're doing, I think some of the early feedback I got, this is my second month here or something, was that the prize wasn't the prize or the incentive wasn't good enough, or like why would we create something for X where X was too small. So I guess that's the other big thing I wanted to sort of get a general feel for here, since we have many of our more prolific creators in this meeting, and I'm sure the ones that are not here will watch at some point. What is interesting to you from a prize perspective? And let's obviously, I know $1 million is interesting, but we have a couple of different options that we can talk about, sort of in the realms of promotion. There's prize money, obviously. There's non-monetary prizes such as gift baskets or something like that, things that you can have. So that's kind of what we're going for today in terms of the feedback that we're trying to get. And some of you don't even need prizes, which I think is great as well. Some just want to win something. But let's go ahead. I want you to think about that, and we'll get back to it during the question and answer section, since I'm putting you all on the spot. And then we're going to move on to our next topic. And this is the prize that you get for coming here. Let's talk about Nakey.
Yes. What's happening now? All right. Yeah. So basically, actually, what is this coming down to is that we've said before that we're working on refining our guidelines. So we're about to release the content guidelines soon, a new version of it, laying out a little bit more clearly what are our rules against nudity and everything. So basically, just as a iteration, again, the guidelines will be posted soon, but for now we can talk about it. So nudity is not allowed in Sansaar generally. We've talked about that before. And nudity will be defined as something where, there are visible genitalia, buttocks, or breasts, especially for humanoid avatars. So this is really we're really most strict, with human avatars, very like human-like, or avatars that are close to human shapes or forms, will be a little bit more stricter in terms of like showing nudity, essentially. Of course, if you have avatars that, let's say Sonic right there, you don't necessarily have to have underwear on those avatars. But if it's a humanoid avatar, then they really need to have underwear that's very close to the underwear that we currently have for the base avatar.
Interestingly, Kara, there is an avatar to our right. Polygon. He's hiding behind a pole here. Polygon, can you?
Do you mind? Yeah.
Can you come out
Do you
here?
mind coming out? Yeah.
Yep, he does. Oh, there we go. So
Where?
Polygon is humanoid, but is also sort of
Mm-hmm.
a being of energy. How do we feel about this? Because there are several
Mm-hmm.
avatars right now that are
That's a good
popular.
question.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, so I think for avatars like this, where it's not very obvious, like the sensitive areas are not very obvious, given the the texture and everything. I think we're a bit less strict with this. So this is like a case where yes, we could allow it, but if there are cases where it's a similar avatar, but it's kind of obvious that the areas that we want not visible are kind of visible, then in those cases we may have to take it down. So Lindis will have to kind of look at it, kind of judge, like, does it make is it something like this where it's just allowed, or something that's a little bit more towards what we don't want to allow. So we could ask you to take it down if that's the case. Similarly, we talked about, being able to upload skins earlier. So, once you start being able to upload skins, you could definitely change the base avatar, right? And remove the underwear entirely. So we'd like to, encourage everyone not to do that. So, that skins will also fall under these guidelines where, you can't have nudity. So if, we see anyone with naked skins, or like where you're covering the underwear, then definitely that would be taken down as well.
Quick question about skins.
Hmm.
Um, the old skins. Is it possible to bring them back on the newer avatars?
The old skins.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I believe you know, in order to put those back, we'll have to really work on them to make them fit the this new avatar. It's something sorry, do you mean skins in terms of being able to do the color wheel, or do you just want specific skins that we
Well,
have
I
there?
I
Yeah.
mean they were particularly very good. I mean, I
Hmm.
don't know how people feel about them, but I felt that they had a bit more life in them. I mean,
Hmm. Hmm.
I'm sure people do like the cartoon style as well,
Right.
but
Yeah. So that's
I do feel that these
mhm.
these have got probably less detail in them.
Right, that's true. So that's something
Yeah.
that we were working on. So as I mentioned earlier, we're also improving the skins of our base avatar. So the new skins that are being worked on right now are a bit more similar to the old style. They're not they're not exactly the same, but they're a lot more, I guess,
I
to
just
your
felt they
point,
were.
more they have more life to it than like cartoonish style.
Yeah, I just felt
Yeah.
like they were drawn on.
Mm-hmm.
That's I didn't really. I didn't think that look suited particularly my style, particularly at the time. So
Yep. Yeah.
just thing keep in mind anyway. But yeah, I like
Yeah,
the
thanks for
idea
bringing
that
it up.
you, yeah, I like
Yeah.
you doing what you're doing because that's nice.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Cool.
Is that all you had there, Kara?
I guess I had one more bit about nudity, So we talked about, custom avatars, we talked about skins. One more thing is definitely clothing, if there are any clothing and accessories that kind of adds those kinds of like parts, like, genitalia, buttocks, breasts, or kind of covers those in some way. Like, I think there are some there that kind of covers the underwear. Definitely they're not encouraged as well. So, if we find any of those kinds of items, they may be taken down. And that's about it. Just a just a reminder.
And also as a reminder, we've talked about this in Discord sometimes. Although I know not everybody is on Discord all the time, but we're not we don't have these rules about nudity because we don't like it or whatever,
Hmm.
and we it's not like we want to get into semantic battles about what constitutes nudity and what doesn't, or whether or not it's even our own opinions about whether or not it's objectively or subjectively right or wrong. A lot of our rules around nudity come from appeasing partners and being able to sort of exist in an ecosystem that is a little bit more conservative than us as individuals, or even even like the base level of conservativeness that Linden Lab is in general. So, for example, we have a huge partner right now in San Rio, and we would not have been able to get that partnership if there were, you know, nipples running amok, for example, right? That's like one of those things that we would not be able to do. And so that's just one example of something that we could not have done. Or we have this new partnership with Levi's again, which is great for us to draw new players and to sort of have us be able to reach out to new partners and for their money to help us support the game, et cetera, et cetera. There's a huge ecosystem here. So we're not making these rules just because it's not like it's not at random. They exist for a reason. And so while I know everybody's tempted to sort of like say, well, if male avatars can have nipple showing, why can't female avatars? Like, we totally get those arguments, and we're, I think a lot of times we're with you, but we're also at sort of the behest of folks that are not at the company. So just keep that in mind. I feel like there's people who want to debate that, and I think that the debate is interesting, and you're welcome to that debate. But it's not really totally up to us in that situation. That's not saying we can't push back on partners and stuff, but there's the context for it, because I know that maybe not everybody has the context for why nudity is so important, or how come SL gets to do things that Sansar doesn't. There's a lot of reasons, and we can talk about that, but that's just...
There's a reason why things are not certain, things are not straight. There you go.
Yeah.
I won.
Anyways, so I just wanted to throw that out there, because I know people, were like, why do we have to... why do we have to do these things? And that's sort of why. And there's more reasons too. Okay.
Right. So I think there are a few questions related to this topic. So I think one was from Firecoat about, I think, showing off his avatar. So I guess again, it depends on the case. Like, Polygon's avatar is okay. I think Firecoat's would be okay. Definitely, of course, if we feel like the avatar is, showing the butt in a way that it's trying to convey sexualization. Definitely that's a case where we would take it down, but I think this one looks fine. Again, it's one of those things where it gets a little bit subjective, of course. So it could be taken down in some cases, or it could not be, or it would be allowed in some cases. I think another question somebody asked, I think Aurora B. Polaris asked, can we maybe change the base cover of the genitalia, etc., because the gray is very daunting. So yeah, if you want to change the underwear color, that's fine. But you keep in mind that you still have to cover the same area. So like if you try to make that a little bit skimpier, then there's a possibility that your item can be taken down. But
Yeah,
yes,
it also has to be the same, a different color than the skin. So you can't have pink underwear that's basically the same color as your pink avatar, or brown underwear that's the same color as your brown avatar. It has to be very clearly defined underwear.
Right. Yeah. So definitely, if it's a kind of what do you call it, underwear where it's so nude that it almost seems like it's not there, then obviously that's not allowed either.
All right. Okay, are we ready for questions? I think we're done there. Let's go ahead and move to the questions. Okay, here we go. First question. Nix asks, is there any timeline for when avatars not sized to 1.00 will stop glitching with the full body emotes?
Yes. The idea is yes. We are looking into it. It's something that it's a bug that we're aware of. So believe this bug is based on the retargeting issue, which retargeting is the mechanism that we use so that 1.0 animations can be applied on 2.0 avatars. Same thing for the pre-morph skeletons that will allow you to do later. That same system will be utilized also to retarget your avatar so that it can do the animations as well.
That fix is being tested right now. So.
Yeah, so it looks like it's gonna come out soon. Thanks, Loki. And we have Loki to thank for that fix, I think.
Okay. Then we have how far can you move the bones from the original spot? Firegoat. Pre-morph skeleton question.
I think until you can come in, go inside the AABB basically. The AABB limits are what limits how much position change you can do.
Right, and I think Loki alluded to this earlier, but he mentioned something about we're gonna have a maximum AABB and then also minimum one, so we can't have like ant size avatars, for example. So there's some kind of constraint there. So it's something we don't really have the set limits yet, but it's something we're playing around with.
Okay. Then we have from Fire Goat asks, I don't know if this is a real question or not. Can we get a bigger meetup spot? It's getting claustrophobic in here.
Yeah, definitely. I think we can do that. I think yeah, I think the space here is just really constraining, so we can look into making a bigger space for sure.
One of the reasons we made this space to begin with is because we wanted to be able to hear everybody talk. So keep that in mind when we're thinking about bigger spaces. But we also don't have as much audience chatter as much as we used to, so maybe it's not that big of a deal. Okay. Next question. Will we be able to apply filters in the customization interface of our character, like shirts, trousers, shoes, etc.? Because when we have a lot, it gets crowded and difficult to pinpoint something.
Yes, definitely. So that's another thing in our roadmap. So it's I didn't mention it earlier because it's a little bit more further out, but one of the items in our roadmap is better categorization in the inventory and the store so that, you can filter it by, just your hats or your shoes or your shirts. So those are that's the kind of thing that we are actually working towards.
Yeah, the same system that will allow us to define base body types and standard sizes will also allow us better categorization and tie-ins between the way that content is organized on the marketplace versus in inventory. So that'll definitely be a great step forward.
Right. Yeah. And one thing, once we introduce this categorization, one thing that we're hoping to hit also is some kind of like swapping of the clothing. So right now, right, if you put on a shirt and then you put another shirt, it doesn't really swap out, and it just gets overlaid, and you'd have to remove the previous shirt. So that's as we have this categorization, then the system kind of knows, okay, this item is a shirt and that item is a shirt. So now we can kind of switch them.
Okay, next question from Celis. With the morph skeleton thing, if we can't rotate bones, that means the avatar fingers will have to be in the same pose as the default, yes?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, the rotation limitation is basically so that all the animations, the default animations, play correctly. Like we could do some more testing with it and see if that's something we can relax. But as of now, that's what we're going with.
Okay. Looks like Jacob asks, in regards to Marvelous Designer non-uniform scaling, another texture map, oh boy, another texture map that specifies influence on the MD garment. Jacob, I'm not sure I understand the question. Do you all understand the question?
Yeah,
Okay.
I do. My understanding of the question is, could we apply a texture map that could specify influence on the MD garment so that you can indicate, hey, this piece of cloth contributes to the upper sleeve, this piece of cloth contributes to the lower sleeve, that kind of thing. And yeah, we've definitely brainstormed a number of solutions with MD, and unfortunately just have not been able to come up with something that would work with their systems.
Okay. Next we have, by the way, this is a Sansar meetup, so if you have SL problems, we want to hear them, but this is not the place for those. Okay. Question. Any chance Blender will have SAMD support in the future, FireGoat?
Not that I'm aware of. SAMD is a format made specifically for Sansar, and I'm not aware of any ongoing deals between Blender and MD, but I also don't know their business, so not to our knowledge at least.
Okay. Polygon asks, will we get slots for hats?
Yeah, it's definitely, as we mentioned, that we're working on categories soon. That's something that we will consider. I think in the past we even considered just having no specific slots for accessories, especially now we have transformation. So it's definitely one of those things that's on the table, like whether we should just remove the accessory points in general and just like have allow you to define any accessory points or just add more categories in the future.
All right. Asha Sekai. Will SAMD files ever support more than one shader?
I don't have any update on that, but I will definitely poke around and ask around again.
Mm-hmm.
Loki, do you know anything about that?
Not off the top of my head. I need to look it up.
Okay, we'll do some research. Keep looking at that.
All right. Next question. Zero Cheese. Will we be getting inventory folders to help me with the madness I have going on when I edit my worlds at any point soon?
Not in the immediate future. We are building some infrastructure that may eventually lead to that, but it is not on the short-term roadmap.
All right. This is probably my favorite question we've ever gotten. Loki asks, nipples? That's it.
No.
Yeah, no, definitely not.
Nopals. Okay. Blazing Ember asks, what about a naked spider girl? Well, you said naked, so the answer is probably no, unless
Yeah.
unless it's dehumanized enough that it's not a human form. Okay. Jeez, a lot of these questions all at once. All right, 1029 Chris asks, butts. How strict will the rules be on butts? I've seen SpongeBob's butt on children's television. I don't know how inappropriate butts are. That's butts 4 times in the same sentence. Thanks, Chris.
Like we said, this isn't really about like our values or like value calls in that way. It's about what was determined to be appropriate enough for our partnerships. So unfortunately, one way or another, no buts.
Get I mean, you've seen some butts in Sansar. I think that's probably as close as you're going to get. Okay. Labencore asks, will you be implementing a rating system for different worlds to allow for varying degrees of content in the future? In Second Life, there is a general rating, there's a mature rating, and an adult content rating.
So I think this is something that was discussed like a few years back. So right now we don't really have that kind of general rating system. Right now, all items must be general. Like we said, we have partnerships and they're very strict about nudity and everything. So having a mature rating is not something that we are looking into in Sansar, especially since we don't really allow mature content to be in Sansar. Yep.
What was that again?
It's a 13 rating, pretty much.
That's right.
I mean, we don't really operate on a rating system because like even PG-13 in the US would allow some of the content that we can't allow.
Like if we wanted to draw you like one of our French avatars, that would
Right.
be.
Yeah. So what we want to be is like be a family-friendly platform.
Even though Fire Goat's Bananas pushing that right now. Okay.
Yeah, he's staring at me.
All right. Jeez, that is like just a lot of wobbling. Okay. Medhu asks, when will the creator... it sounds like you're talking about the creator, Medhu. When will the creator get access to the base textures for new avatars?
You mean the default avatar? So that's some.
Yeah.
So yeah, and do you mean under reference skeletons?
In the blend file, we don't get textures.
Yeah. So the team is right. Yeah. Thanks for following up on that. So that's what I forgot to mention that, but that's one of the things the team is working on right now. So they're kind of refining the Blender file. So I think it looks a little bit better now. Also, they're adding textures to those files. Oh, who's that?
Hold on
Right.
a sec.
All right. Yeah. Sorry, I got distracted. But yeah, it's something we're working on. Hopefully, we'll get it soon. We're also planning to have some kind of external package where you only have this, what do you call it? The UV, I guess, texture, so that you can kind of skin more easily, especially now that we're gonna allow, uploading skins in the future. So pretty soon we'll get those out to in your hands.
Okay. Next. Does a coat of fur or feathers count as clothing?
If it provides ample coverage.
Good answer.
Okay. Aurora asks, can we maybe change the base cover of genitalia? No, we already answered that. What's the double... 1029 Chris asks, what's with the double standard for platforms? Levi's has a Twitter account, yet Twitter has a ton of porn. Well, that's Twitter's problem. We don't allow that, so that's the answer. Loki asks, customizing skins. Do we have control of stuff like subsurface scattering?
I don't have a clear answer for that yet, but that's something that we were just talking about the other day. Maybe we'll give all of the emissives or subsurface scattering access. We still need to define really what kind of like shaders will be available for skins. But it's a good question.
Okay. Medhu asks, if corporate partners are so important to the lab and the lab is going for corporations like Levi's, what incentive does a creator have to make clothing knowing that corporate partners are favored by the lab?
I wouldn't say they're favored, just that they help us form our guidelines, and we know that we have some restrictions that we have to implement in terms of our platform guidelines. But Sansaar is and always will be first and foremost focused on user-generated content. We are going to have some partnered content that we are going to bring in and feature, but that doesn't mean that the focus is going to be on user-generated content.
Okay. Who wrote this? Daisy. Oh, this is a long one. Okay. I've been watching a lot of streamers to see Sansaar through newbie eyes, which was super insightful. I've been doing that as well, by the way. There's a lot of new streamers. I suggest that everybody go watch streamers. It's interesting to see. And one of the things Daisy noticed is that new people do not want to invest their time right away to build a world, but do want to have their own worlds. And they feel that the default worlds are not interesting enough. They see more advanced worlds from our creators in Sansaar and want that too, but without the fuzz. Since not everybody wants to build... here's my question. Wouldn't it be a good idea to be able to sell worlds? That way, new people can focus on creating quests, events, clubs, stores, you name it. And another plus side for creators will be able to create worlds together, and new people will be able to explore more to find the best world for them to buy. Also, I just tacking this on, even though Daisy didn't write this, but it would be another way for creators to make money, especially if they've spent a lot of time on some very complicated worlds and whatnot.
Yeah, absolutely. We definitely want to get to that. It's not on the short-term roadmap at present, but it is something that we have explicitly made some architectural decisions, knowing that we want to support down the line. So we have a decent amount of infrastructure to support that eventually, and we just need to carve out some extra time to be able to enable all the tools that would be required to allow you to see, hey, here are all the pieces of content in your world and all the licenses and all of the base cost it's going to take to sell an entire world, and give users tools to know, hey, if you buy this, here's all the things you're getting, that kind of thing. But yeah, eventually we definitely want to get to that.
Okay, selling worlds on the roadmap. Firegoat, are we going to be able to increase movement speed or add floating or flying as a feature?
I don't know, Galileo, how are you doing it?
I'm using Creator solution. So obviously this is Cerberus's float emote with Scorpion's platform. Yep. Oh, somebody is echoing. Oh, my boy, export. Can you turn off the mic? Oh, excellent. Okay. Yeah. So, I think that the short answer is, if you're doing stuff like this, I think this is like a user-generated solution. If I don't know if we're going to be able to get to those, but I think what Firegoat is asking is, can we make somebody run faster than other people depending on the experience? Right now, we sort of have that ability with gravity, where we can make people jump higher, but we're looking for sort of, I don't know. Firegoat, do you want to explain sort of your context so I don't have to speak for you?
Sorry, I was just being snarky.
Oh, you were being snarky. Oh, great.
It's a good question and relevant, and actually something that we're looking into, allowing creators to build their own experiences to say, hey,
when you've accomplished this quest objective, then you have a script API to make people who have leveled up in your experience be able to move faster in your experience, or when they're in this volume, or that kind of thing. So we're actively working on that. The thing that we want to be careful about is we can't have it so that you just add a certain attachment and all of a sudden you run twice as fast in every single experience, because that would break some games. So we at the start of it, it's going to be a feature that can be built into a specific scene, and then you'll have script control over being able to speed up or slow down run speeds, that kind of thing.
Okay. What about flying?
No plans on flying currently, partially just because it further complicates the animation graph, and really we just have other things that we need to get to first. But I certainly would love to fly someday.
Okay, heads up to everybody. We're at a 10-minute mark here, and we have a ton of questions left. And unfortunately, we don't have a lot of free time, Lindens, to stay around today because we have the all hands after this, which is a company-wide meeting for everybody else. So let's go ahead and try to answer these questions with quality, but also with speed. The next question is, muting somebody because they're too loud or disturbing is hard sometimes. You don't always see who the problem is, since huge avatars block the sound waves above their heads. I think it would be better to have an option in the nearby menu where you can see a green icon where they are broadcasting voice. And if we then also have a button on the menu to block the sound, it would make it so much easier. That was Daisy.
So I can speak to this a little bit. We hear your problem. We'd like to do that ourselves. We made one step towards that. We added the ability to mute someone from the People app. So if you can find that, if you know who it is and you can find them, you can easily mute them from their profile image. As for the next step would be adding voice indicators there, so you know who's actually talking. That's something we would like to do. It's a little more complicated than just adding the button, though.
And we are looking at making it easier, so you can just click on the avatar to bring up their profile and have the mute tools right there.
Yes, that's also in the works.
Right, and then I want to add to that, since Daisy did mention, sometimes, large avatars cover the speech indicator. So, with pre-morph skeletons, hopefully that will be less of a problem. If, the avatar is rigged properly against the skeleton, then the speech indicator will be able, will show properly now on the avatar's head instead of being inside the avatar of a tall avatar.
Okay, I think.
About the VR.
Hold on. Right? Yeah. Well, we got. Okay, go ahead. Just if it's about this.
All right. It's increasingly difficult to do anything in the menu in VR, particularly muting people in general. Is there any way improving that for the future? I know that's kind of an open question, but I just want to leave it there.
I'll just take this. We recognize that VR menu options are not as robust as desktop, and Istari is our design director. He is tackling this more long-term of how can we make VR more usable and closer to desktop. Obviously, it won't be exactly the same, but he's working on that problem.
That'd be great. I'd love to test that out, by the way. So you know.
Okay, next question. Yorkie asks, will there be updates to avatars such as body sliders, new eye textures, colors, skin colors, hairstyles, etc.? The short answer is yes, Yorkie. Body sliders are coming up. Eye textures and hairstyles will be user-generated, so creators will probably provide the solution to that. And skin colors, we had those on Avatar 1.0, so I assume that new skin colors will have a tinting system coming up. Is that true, Kara?
That is false.
That is false. Great.
Yeah.
We will handle it by swapping out textures, so users will be able to upload their own textures to get different colors.
Okay, next question. Loki Elliott asks, related to Avatar Skeleton, in VR, the full body tracking seems broke, and may be related to the IK also being broke in VR since the introduction of Avatar 2.0. Any chance this will be fixed?
We'll definitely give that feedback to the team that has worked on fixing IK in the past and take another look. I don't have an answer immediately, but we'll pass on the feedback.
Okay, Daisy asks, why don't we get the option to text mute somebody? Is there a reason behind it?
No answer to that right now. I believe it was
it was a policy decision that we are sort of reevaluating recently, but no really good answer for you there right now.
Okay, next question. FireGoat asks, another question regarding moving bones. Can we use the moved bones on a clothing item?
No.
Okay, short and sweet.
Yeah.
Okay. Will you allow, somebody's asking, JCT asks, will you allow to rebind our keys in a keyboard in the future? Since mine is an AZERTY keyboard, it is a pain to be forced to switch constantly between talking and moving my avatar. AZERTY for talking, QWERTY for moving. Yes, it is a pain, sadly. Thank you.
Alex is not here, but I know it's something that he has been wanting to do. I don't know when it'll be, but it's, I think, on his roadmap at least, or at least his ideal roadmap.
Yeah, it's on the long-term roadmap, unfortunately not the short one, but we'll pass along the feedback that users still very much want it.
All right, thanks, JCT. FireGoat asks, are we getting more fun simple scripts to play with anytime soon?
I don't think we have any scripters on board to answer that question.
No, but I'm sure Kelly and the scripting channel on Discord would be happy to get that question.
Yeah, you can ask Kelly or Bina those things. Kelly's pretty active in a scripting channel. Crypto asks, why does this game not show that I am playing this on Discord? I imagine it's probably an issue with the linking account feature on Discord. You might want to try that again. And if it doesn't work a second time, let us know, and then we can see if we can help you.
I don't think that's what they're saying.
Okay, what is the issue?
I think what they're saying is basically the saying, by default, it shows you what game you're playing, depending on if it recognizes the game or not.
Oh, interesting. I've seen people playing Sansaar in Discord before, so I know that it can happen. But it looks like Thurn Lorefield might have an answer in chat for you. Okay. Goodness gracious, where are we? Okay, that was CL Crypto. Fenrir asks, but scaling the bones is possible, for example, on a character with really big hands.
I believe so, Loki, right? As long as you don't change the rotation, I think it'll be fine.
Yeah. Wait, what was the question?
Scaling bones, not just translating for pre-morph skeletons.
Should be fine. That's something we might have to get back to you on that.
All right, next question. Sorry, we're going fast, everybody, because I want to get through all your questions. We're very close to the end, so I think we might be able to do it. Loki asks, question, oh, geez. Why is it still impossible to read some dialogue boxes in VR? I end up trying to step closer to read it, but it's fixed, so I end up just hitting my wall in real life.
I think that this gets back to Istaria's looking at VR interactions and how he can make them better, and I know that's one of the known issues that he wants to address at some point. So the answer is we just haven't fixed it yet, but we're aware of it.
Okay, Bagnaria is a fairly large question. We might have to cover this later, Bagnaria, because I think that there's a lot to cover. But do we want to answer this right now? What can we expect in this upcoming release? Do we have a sort of Spark Notes answer to that?
I mean, we talked about pre-morph skeletons and better camera tools. At least from the after side, those are things that are coming up. I don't know, what's coming up in other teams from other teams, but we can tackle that in a different product meetup where we're focusing on the next release.
Okay.
And we have a lot of small releases coming up before the next big release, so it's a complicated question to answer.
Okay, so let's give it a back burner. FireGoat asks, is there a way to delete or clear inventory, or can we add a way to do it?
Like your full inventory?
Yeah, in the editor. Instead of clicking one by one to delete things, is there a way to clear it?
I believe not currently, but we can definitely consider that for future improvements.
Okay, cool. Next, whilst we can't have nudity in Sansaar, could we just have it in our home wardrobe? For some of us, the avatar is an extension of our real-life bodies that we can't have. In SL, it has helped. I hoped it would improve greatly in VR, Love Anime asks.
Unfortunately, I'd like to say no, given that, I think right now, right, everybody says, sometimes you're loaded into the Nexus and you don't know you're naked. So in those cases, then somebody could see you naked, even though
No,
you're.
I'm sorry. I'm talking. Is that just having the nude in the home
So
environment?
technically, it's not allowed on the platform at all.
Yeah.
I mean, there's really not anything, honestly, we can do about it if it's staying in private spaces. But technically, if it's in the guidelines, it's not allowed on the platform. Period.
Right. Definitely, it's not encouraged, like, to have nude avatars, even if your world is private.
Right, because while you may not be doing anything, somebody else might decide to stream that, and so streaming out nudity is just as bad for us as public nudity. So that's the short answer to that. Loki asks, will the custom skinning feature also be allowed for custom avatars? Any answer?
For at least for this first version, the answer is no. But it's something definitely we're looking into, and are considering for future improvements.
Okay. Mad Eye asks, can we have a two-sided version of the transparent shader to use on models that use only a single face for glass windows?
I will pass that on to the render team and ask.
Okay. There are still dark shadows under some armpits in the basic avatar. Is anyone doing anything to address this? Wild and Free asks.
I believe that was fixed, so we can look into that again, see if why it's showing up again.
No, it's not. But
I believe Luov is showing her armpit. So
yeah.
take a zoom into that.
Yeah.
Okay. Luov, if you want to come show your armpit up to people, you can.
Yes, please.
You need to move closer so we can get a screenshot of it. Oh, boy.
It's there still. Look. Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks for showing us.
Okay, so we're technically at time. I believe we have 15 minutes to get ready for our meeting. Do you guys have time to answer a few more questions on the Linden side?
I should be fine, yeah.
Okay. Zero Cheese. Oh, God, Zero, is this English? All right. When I sit in VR on a sit point, things get really glitchy with the arms going all over the place. And if I try to sit in a chair IRL, sometimes it even stands up my avatar when I'm leaving the sit point. Will there be some way to maybe polish up some of the VR movements and or make it so I am sitting on a sit point, I have to press jump or something to stand rather than standing in VR when I sit IRL? Let's use some punctuation, folks, when we're sending these questions in. Just kidding, Zero. Sort of.
We can definitely look into that.
That huge question for that answer, Kara? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, sorry.
God, okay.
I was gonna say, okay,
Wow.
let me add more. Yeah, so I think I'm not really the person looking into the after movements, but we can definitely look into that. I believe with after emotes right now, if you do emotes in VR, it'll only cancel if you move your avatar. So maybe we could kind of figure out if we can apply the same thing when you're sitting on a chair.
Okay, cool. Waffle Nerd asks, are there any plans on allowing a limited capacity of user permission for co-world building functions?
We really, really, really want to get there, but there are some other things that we need to tackle first. So someday.
Okay. Tina asks, will Sansaar work with Oculus Link?
Short answer, we don't know, but we're definitely going to try it internally once we get our hands on it. Slightly longer answer, it's going to be hard for us to get on the Oculus store, so it may not be through official means, and official support is probably unlikely, but we're definitely going to see whether we can hack something together.
All right.
We don't know.
Okay, and this is the last question, so we've done it, everybody. Has any... Oh, Fenrir asked another question in chat. Wow. All right, has any...
I have to go, unfortunately.
Bye,
We're
Harley.
getting ready over here. Bye.
Go. Has any progress been made with respect to the UI scaling issues for 4K monitors? Text is tiny on a 4K screen, especially in the diagnostics panel, and that comes from Laban Core.
No, nothing on this front. Again, Istari is as our design director. He's focused. He has a long-term project to look at the UX, and I believe he has a 4K monitor, I think, and he's mentioned this before. So he's thinking about a lot of these things, but not in individual pieces, but as a whole.
Zero says, you missed my individual voice volumes. We really need individual voice volumes. Please add that on the roadmap for the future.
Yep.
Okay, thanks. I think that's everything. I think Fenrir's last question was, since I plan on going to a Valve Index, how does it look on this front? Do we work with Valve Index?
I don't think the people who would know that are here.
I believe there's a hack to get it to mostly sort of work. I know we don't compensate for the tilted screens just yet, and we don't support the individual fingers, but the controllers work if you don't mind not having individual control of all the fingers, and you can get the headset to work mostly. But we're aware of those issues. We definitely want to get 100% full support in it long term, but you can get by for now.
Is that because you don't support 2.0 yet? From the Steam thing?
We just need to upgrade our support to handle the individual fingers, and we need to do some render changes to support the fact that the left eye and right eye screens are slightly tilted.
Okay, all right. Good to know, because I'm buying one.
Congratulations on your new VR set. Everybody, I think that's it. I think that's it.
Before we go, I can play the video one more time for those who missed it, but for the Linens who want to go, feel free to do so.
Just wanted to thank everybody again for dealing with the rapid fire answers at the end. There were so many questions this time. Usually we have more time than that, so. Woo! Short Film Festival winner. Okay, everybody, we have to go to a meeting. Love all the new avatars in here. Thanks. Thank you, delegation from Minnesota again.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, all.
See y'all.
Remember, we're all hanging out in Discord, so if you have any follow-up
Have a good
questions.
lunch. I have a question for you.
Thank you.
Hurry up, Purples. I gotta get ready for
No, not you, not you.
Oh, wow, I see how it is. Wow.
I'll talk to you later. I've got a
Okay,
lot of questions
all
for you
right.
later.
Okay.
Got a question.
I see this.
Hello, how are you?
Delegation from Minnesota looks well armed.
That is true of most Midwest states, I think.
With a
Lots
bow
of
and
guns.
arrow.
Individual voice volume control.
Is that what you need? We'll go wherever you want. Yay, Tina, party tonight. Where's Tina? There you are. Hey, I don't get that same accent. Party,
Hi,
party.
Gina.